I don't think it is easing. This is a good example. You're mentioning UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Right now, the UN's top disaster official is in Myanmar. John Holmes is there and is planning to spend a few days there trying to convince the Myanmar military leaders to let the massive aid effort in. The UN says now about 2 million people are suffering from a lack of food and water, and that has gone on for more than 2 weeks now since Cyclone Nargis hit the country. And that is a great source of frustration. Obviously, not having food and water for that long can be disastrous for those people who are living in Myanmar. The UN visit is pretty significant because it really illustrates the high level of pressure that is being put on Myanmar's military junta. We should mention there have been some developments. The senior general Tan Shui, normally reclusive, very secretive, was outside in public at one of the relief camps near Yangon, touring the area, and there are pictures of him going around and meeting and greeting victims. But obviously that area that he was in was not the hardest hit. It's the Irrawaddy Delta that is the most damaged part of the country, and the part of the country that really isn't seeing the kind of aid, the number of aid workers that it needs to see. In the meantime, though, Myanmar's military junta has allowed in more aid, little by little. There were 30 doctors, for example, from Thailand who went into the country. But when you're talking about this massive scale, these massive numbers of people who are suffering, who don't have what they need to survive, 30 doctors is, like putting a Band-Aid on a massive bleed. This is really not enough, and that's what the international community has been saying for days now. Really, the frustrations are still there, Hugh. There are lots of people just waiting to go in, including members of the UN, and there are lots of other issues as far as getting the aid to where it needs to go. There are observers saying that a lot of the aid that has been dropped off at Yangon Airport is just simply sitting there waiting to be distributed, and many people are saying the only way that that can be distributed to those who need it most in the Irrawaddy Delta is with boats, and there just aren't enough. So these are the kinds of issues that will be talked about. There were some protests about this, about the aid not being let in the numbers that it needs to be let into the country outside of Myanmar in the north here in Thailand. People are still frustrated, and yes, while there are little things happening, while the military is giving way little by little, it just isn't enough, and it's not fast enough. And as each day goes by, international aid workers are saying more and more people are in danger of dying. Disease, not having enough drinking water, it is really still quite a mess there in Myanmar.